Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, and good evening. Sorry, I've been watching QI a bit too much there. So, welcome to another Monday night Q&A. Hopefully, there's a few people out there with some questions. I've got a couple on hold, as it were, but realistically, I'm hoping for you guys to send us some questions tonight so we can answer them. So I've got a few people watching I can see already. That's good. Few points of interest before we go any further. Brighton session start in Hove tomorrow night. If you've never been to a session before, you need to fill in some forms, so contact me. If you have been, you need to book with Emily because we've got limited places. Even more breaking news, which I know won't, not many people out there will, this won't be relevant, but Colchester branch. And the reason it won't be relevant is because Colchester is doing a dry session starting like 7:30 tonight. So I know all the Colchester members are out there doing their dry session, but the pool will be open in 2 weeks' time, so on the 7th of September. So again, if you've never been before, you need to book up sessions. If you have been before, you need to book with Paul, who's the new branch director, because again, limited space. We have the dive off. We still have spaces for the dive off, which is the 11th, 12th and 13th of September. And so that's the best competition for everybody. It's a brilliant way of introduction to competitive freediving. We call it we want the first competition being almost AIDA rules, which is AIDA rules but with a couple of variations to help newbies, and everybody gets an adjutant, everybody gets a dive, followed up by a couple of crazy competitions in the pool, which everybody's welcome to come to, whether you're a member or not. Let us know, drop us a line. If you're a newbie, then you're welcome. We can accommodate everybody. Again, limited numbers, so please book up for that. Late Fest as well. If you're interested, come down to Cornwall for 3 days, the first weekend of September. You're welcome to join us. Anyway, without further ado, if you get a question, please ping it across in the chat, and I will answer it. But the first question I got was actually from one of the Colchester members. It was a really interesting question that I felt we should put out on this. So when we're doing dry exercises, when we're doing either dry warm-ups for a pool session, or these days we're doing dry sessions. There's one down in Brighton on Tuesdays. Our Wednesdays ones have been a bit sketchy the last couple of weeks. We've had a lot of rain to stop those. And Colchester obviously running theirs on a Monday night. Most of the dry walking exercises are done empty lung. Why is this? So that wasn't the question. The question was a little bit more technical, but I'm putting that question. Why are most of your walking exercises done empty lung? In fact, they're all done empty lung, I think. Maybe not the full dry sessions that we're doing now in the park. The park sessions, they're probably not all dry. I can't get my head around that. I can't think at the moment. But the dry warm-up exercises, all of them except the Solomon walks, are done empty lung. Now, why is this? Now, the first reason is safety. So if you were to hold your breath too long and black out, if you've got a full lung full of air and you black out, there will be a moment where when you breathe out, everything, when you black out, the body takes over, breathes for you, so you lose the lock and you breathe out. You will hit the floor, face plant the concrete, the pavement, before you come round. If you do it empty lung and you black out, everything relaxes, you lose the lock, and air comes in, and you will come back within that split second. And so you probably will have time enough to put your hand out to stop you face planting the pavement. So that's number one. When you're doing walking exercises, you do them empty lung, because you come back instantly if you have a loss of control, should we say, not a full blackout. And you can see it. I have seen it. People who are holding their breath on the sofa, they black out and they come back pretty much instantly, because in the first part of the blackout, the body takes over and breathes. If it can do that straight away, it knows it's okay and it will breathe and you come back. It's only if you're immersed in water that the breath hold continues a little bit longer and other things come into play and you may not come back straight away. So when dry walking, empty lung. Right. So the question that actually Colchester asked, this was Paul, and Kate actually put the question to Paul. Paul then rang me, and we got into a massive discussion about it, which is fantastic. They said, what's the point of doing a big breathe up and then 3 candle blows and then a big breath in if you're going to do an empty lung breath hold? What's the point? And they said, because isn't an empty lung breath hold simulating the last part of a breath hold? And I said, okay, there's as I quite often answer these questions or any questions, there are 4 answers. I said the first one is that this is a wrong premise, or a slightly wrong premise, that an empty lung breath hold simulates the end of a breath hold. It doesn't. It simulates the entire breath hold, but in fast forward. So if you empty lung breath hold, the first 5 seconds are easy. They're not like the end of a breath hold. They are easy like a normal breath hold would be. Then it gets a little bit harder, a little bit harder, and a little bit harder, quicker than it would if you were holding full lung. Okay, so it's a slight wording thing. An empty lung breath hold will be a harder breath hold and shorter, but it won't be simulating the end of the breath hold. And then we diverged from that question a little bit and said, I was saying that we do in no tank system in our 42 exercises we have exercises that do simulate the end of the dive, but not the entire. So for instance, we have lactic lengths which simulate the lactic build-up at the end of a long swim. And we have another exercise which simulates the brain fatigue at the end of a breath hold. And we have another exercise which simulates the amount of turns, for instance, of a long dynamic swim. So you're practicing the end of the dive, but in sections, in separate parts. So keeping the safety up there, so you're not just doing a long swim and struggling at the end, okay, which is a really not only dangerous way of training, but equally well, it's a really straining way of training, and therefore bad for progression. So we do simulate the end of the breath hold, of a long breath hold, but every single part of it, so that we're ready for the dive day. Okay, so that was point number 1. Then I addressed the other 3 questions, and the other 3 parts. What's the point of a long breathe up? Now, I tell you this: if you try an empty lung breath hold exercise, have a nice breathe up, chill, relax, let the heart rate go down, focus a little bit, let the brain become less kind of hectic, get it focused down, and then do an empty lung exercise. Doesn't have to be a long breathe up. It's true, you don't need to do a long breathe up to get those in place, and the benefit is minimal if you're going to do an empty lung breath hold. And then do an empty lung exercise, and then do exactly the same exercise without the breathe up, without that time to get your heart rate low, and without allowing your mind to focus, and it will be almost impossible. Okay? The same exercise, and so you can see the benefit of a breathe up. We call it a breathe up, but really it's breathe up's the wrong word, because you can't get any more oxygen in your body. Once your O2 levels are 98%, that's it, they're at 98%. So you can breathe and huff and puff, or do yoga, do kind of really relaxing meditation. You're never going to get O2 level up any higher. Okay. So and even huffing and puffing and hyperventilating, it doesn't get your O2 levels any higher. You can't do it. Your hemoglobin's topped up. That's it. You can't get any more in. So the long breathe up is not really a breathe up as such. It's more of a preparation. Breathe up is a word they use in freediving, but it's more of a 2-minute prep. In fact, I'm going to start from this moment on. No tank sessions. They're not called a breathe up. They're called a prep. 2-minute prep, because breathe up gives the wrong idea. You've seen it happen here live. The 4 people watching now, you've seen it happen. So we've changed the language because it's wrong. Then, so that's the first part of long breathe up, and then the candle blows. And the candle blows are super, super, super important. They're neurological programming. Now, because the breath hold, empty lung breath hold, is like a squeezed, fast forward version of a dive, all the triggers for the dive reflexes are going to be coming on quicker and harder, which means it's super important, even more important, to do the candle blows, which is neurological programming, before an empty lung hold. The reason being is you do the candle blows, and what you're saying is you're telling your body, hey, I'm going to do a breath hold, and the body goes, I don't know what you're doing. That's why when you do candle blows, it kind of feels a little bit weird when you start doing them. Body doesn't know what you're talking about, what you're doing, why you're doing it. So you Ted saying witnessed history there. That's good. Okay, so you blow the candles, tell the body, I'm going to hold your breath. The body doesn't understand, and then you hold your breath, and the triggers come in real hard and quick if it's empty lung. And so bring on vasoconstriction, blood shunt, and bradycardia. All the dive reflexes come in. The next time you do it, you blow the candles. Your body goes, well, you did this before. I recognise what you're doing, but I don't know what you're doing. And then the dive reflexes kick in. If it's empty lung, they'll be coming in hard and fast, reinforcing what you want the body to do. And by maybe the 10th, 15th time you do the candle blows, the body will go, in a Pavlovian response, will understand that candle blows are followed by the dive reflexes. That's what you want it to do. So they will come in. So the actual candle blows are more important when you're doing empty lung breath holds, because it reinforces the Pavlovian neurological programming that we want to happen. And this is why the zany tables, and Ted said the zany walks rule, yeah, the zany walks do, and they reinforce the candle blows, and that's why you do the zany walks empty lung. Yeah, there you go. So that was the first one, and then so that's it. They also asked about a large breath beforehand. So usually on the empty lung breath holds or exercises, we say you blow the candles, take a big breath in, and then relax and let it out. And this is for me just more of a kind of a rhythm, more of a pattern that we do. So you go candle blows, and then because that's what you do when you do a normal breath hold. Oh, man, I can't believe I did that. That's so wrong. The candle blows are wrong. The last breath was wrong. I will cover that now because I haven't got any other questions coming in. There's some people watching, but they're not asking questions, so I will cover that. When you see somebody taking their last breath in, this is what you'll see on the films. Rubbish. Utter rubbish. Right? Good for the films because you know they're taking their last breath in. But when I do that, you can see my neck is strained because I'm creating so much effort to draw the air through this tiny breath. Much better would be to. That was it. That was my full lungful. Using the diaphragm, the belly, and then the chest. That was it. It's a full lungful. Much more efficient, much quicker, much less effort than. But you feel like you're taking a lot more in because it's longer, louder, more dramatic. But even then I made a noise. And then making a noise reduces the efficiency. So the last breath should be efficient, fast, quick, silent, through the mouth. Get the air in. Anything else, like raising the shoulders and making a funny face, and it's a complete and utter waste of time. Okay? Personally, I even do my last breath when I'm doing a big dive. I'll do my last breath, maybe 80% of the breath. So diaphragm, a little bit of chest. And then I'll stop, and then I'll pack. And I'm not overpacking. I'm not packing more than 100%. I'm breathing 80, 90% super easily. It's about 80%. Super easy, super quick. And then pack the last bit, because they're a lot more relaxed and getting that last bit of breath in. It's much easier to take the breath in like this. Ooh, hang on. 80%. That's it. That's my 100%. And if I do another couple, I'm at maybe 105% of capacity with no effort at all. So the last breath should be quick, silent, and if you're training, only needs to be 80%. And in the context of the question I was being asked, 70% is all right, because you're going to do empty lung anyway. Okay. So there. So that goes out to Paul. Hopefully you'll watch this tomorrow. And obviously Paul's running the culture session right as we speak, and you know he's he'll watch this later. I also got asked a question, and it's an ongoing question from I can't remember the guy's name, Martinique maybe, I don't know. It's on Facebook anyway, and he was asking me another ongoing question about dive computers, and they said, what computer should you use? And I don't often enter into forum kind of questions, but for some reason I was feeling fairly, kind of out there, and I answered this question, as I have on this channel, that computers are one of the worst things you can have for progression and learning and teaching your body stuff, and went into the fact that as soon as you put a number on it, and I've said this before, as soon as you put a number onto a dive, all the other learning aspects collapse down into nothing. It's the same as golf. If you play a round of golf and you've learned a new particular kind of shot, or a new part of the round, there's a hole where you realise now you need to curve in a different way than you did before or something. That's the learning. That's the learning. That's what you come away. You know more about golf than you did, or more about that golf course, or more about that one shot than you did before. And you can practice that shot 100 times, and you'll know whatever. If you come off the golf course and you just give, oh yeah, I did it in one under. I did the whole, 1 under par, 2 over par, or whatever it is. All the learning you've just cast aside, and you just come away with a number of how you went round that golf course. In the same way, but even more so, because with freediving, the things you learn are internal awareness-based things, as opposed to golf. It's that the ball went that way and then that way. Whether it got on the fairway or the green or whatever you're trying to get. Whereas freediving, it's all internal, so it's even more pertinent. If you say that dive was this depth, that dive was this time, all the other learning things disappear. So I'd said this on this thread, and somebody came back and said, well, yeah, but I find it really interesting to look back later. And this kind of upset me, got me riled up. I don't know, it's one of those things that when you write down, to learn something, I've told people many times before, buy the book Tony Buzan, Use Your Head by Tony Buzan. It will tell you how to learn. Okay, use your head. Tony Buzan, a book from the mid-70s, fantastic book. It will teach you how to learn. And he says, when taking notes in a lecture or in a class, or when you're on a course, you take notes. The best way to remember stuff is you take the notes and then put them away. An hour after the course, you write them out again. Whether you copy them from the original, whether you just try and remember them, doesn't matter. Write them all out, as many as you can. Screw up that paper, throw it away. something like 6 hours later, you do it again. You write it out. And he's worked out, or he's found the Tony Buzan didn't work it out. He found the research that shows the optimum time between writing original notes, writing the notes again, writing the notes again, writing the notes again, to get it into your long-term memory. And it's astounding how much people usually forget on a course. They go away learning maybe 10%. If you follow this simple rule, so I think it's like an hour, 6 hours, 24 hours, 4 days, like that you just revisit the information from your head, not necessarily from the notes you made, from your head. You revisit them, you get the kind of retained information will go to something like 80%. Okay? So you can go from 10% to 80% by revising and revisiting that information. So let me tell you this about freediving. You go on a dive, you experience a dive, it's fantastic. You should get out, make notes about the dive. You did maybe 20 dives in a session, you write about the best 10 ones. An hour later, get another piece of paper or your pen, make notes, write notes, scrape up a piece of paper, throw it away. You revisit the information. Do it again 6 hours later, 24 hours later. And you will remember so much more. You will learn so much more. If your revisiting is just, oh yeah, there's 10 meters. What information are you revisiting? You're just revisiting the depth and the time. So you're reinforcing the fact that none of the other information about the dive, the fact that you learned something, how to kick, how to do the duck dive, how to control your free fall, the head position that you felt, the shoulder position, at what depth you need to start arching your back because the chest's collapsing in, which instantly, obviously it does, and you need to kind of, what depth that happens, what it feels like. All these things you're learning from that dive that you would have written out. As soon as you have a computer there, the number is linked, and you're not going to revisit, and you're not going to go back 6 hours later and go, oh yeah, I did 10 dives, whatever it was. What depth were they? 5 meters, 10 meters, 10 meters, 30 meters, 40 meters. Yeah, you're not going to revisit it 6 hours later. You're not going to do that because what are you going to learn from it? It's obvious you're not going to learn anything from it. It's just numbers. But if you write down second dive, really nice sink. I felt my chest going in. I arched slightly to keep myself straight. My chin was in the wrong position. I span off, bam, write it down. Next dive, I was going down. My elbow went out. I started spinning. Okay, I realised that my elbow comes out when I'm doing this. You write it down. There's your learning. And there you will want to revisit that information an hour later, 6 hours later, 24 hours later. That's how you learn. So simply having a computer will destroy any possibility of learning. Anyway, and this is what somebody said, yeah, but I like to look back. And as I've said before, numbers, there's only one reason you have a number, depth or time, and that's to show off. Because it doesn't mean anything to anybody else except how deep can you go, and you're doing it to show off. It's an ego thing. Yeah, no, I don't tell anybody, I just have it for myself. Why? Okay, so you have it for yourself, so you know you can do 20 meters, 30 meters, 50 meters, 8 meters, so you know it. Just so that when you're on the forums, you can go deeper than the person you're talking to. Numbers only have relevance when you're placing yourself against somebody else. And as soon as you're aware of this, you can get rid of that ego, then your progression will be not only much better, but you'll have longevity in the sport, because you'll come away from a dive going, oh my gosh, that was incredible. There was this fish that came past. I witnessed this. The sun came out. Whatever it was that gave you joy, and you want to do it again. Oh, well, I did 10 meters. I want to do 11 meters. You're driven to go back and do 11 meters. What happens if the place you go to the next time is only 10 meters deep? Well, I don't want to go there. And we do have these. Oh, I don't want to go there. It's not deep enough. I want to go deeper than I went before. Then you are limiting your entire freediving existence to one path, which ultimately will stop. It will stop because one day somebody will say, oh, we're going to this lake. Yeah, it's only 60 meters. It's 60. No, it's not. it's 60 meters deep. Oh yeah, but I want to do 66. So you don't go to the lake. What? You don't go to the ocean. What? Crazy numbers. Dreadful. Anyway, this is all beside the point. Let me look at the time. So I have gone on a little bit about those things. So I'm kind of run out of time. I did have another question that came through a minute ago on my phone, but I will save that for next week because it's a bit of a different subject and a little bit off. So somebody just texted me that. I'm gonna wait, leave that till next Monday. So hopefully you can join us next week, next Monday. We are in the pool tomorrow night in Brighton. If you're around, that'd be fantastic. If you want to go down, contact us. Let us know you want to come down. The dive off, brilliant for everybody, for anybody, and hopefully all the other pools will be opening up soon. So hopefully we'll see you in the pool soon. See you next Monday for the next Q&A. Tell your friends, subscribe. What else I'm going to say? Oh yeah, subscribe and like. Whatever. So thank you very much for joining me, and we'll see you next week. We should have some videos coming out this week. We've been diving quite a lot, and we put some videos together. We had a fantastic time in Vobster last weekend, playing with a sled, trying to do some silly stuff with a sled. So hopefully I'll get that video up online soon. So see you later. Cheers. Thank you very much.